Okay, so for just a second, I want you to stop thinking about the computer.
Right, not the hardware.
Exactly. Forget the silicon chips, the massive data centers humming away in the desert, the stock prices, all of it.
Mm.
I want you to shift your perspective entirely. Usually, when we sit down to talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about it like it's a tool.
Like a hammer or a spreadsheet.
Or a really, really smart calculator, yeah.
Yeah.
But today, based on the research we have in front of us, we're going to ask you to see it differently.
A lot differently.
We want you to stop seeing AI as a machine that you use and start seeing it as a student that you are raising.
And it sounds like a metaphor, doesn't it? Maybe a sentimental one.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's actually a technical necessity. We're effectively moving away from an era of just engineering into an era of, well, formation.
And the premise here is it's massive. We are, you could argue, navigating the most critical transition in the history of this technology. We're moving from what our source material calls AI 2.0, the era of connection, into AI 3.0, the era of value.
And the date on this is important. It's January 2026. That's the timestamp for the article we're diving into today.
Right.
It's titled AI 3.0, The Sunday School for Supercomputers by William L. Weaver. And what's fascinating right off the bat isn't just what Weaver says, but how he figured it out.
Yes.
He didn't just go write this theory in a cabin somewhere. He engineered a way for the AI to help him discover it.
I love this part. It gets incredibly meta, right from the jump. Weaver engaged in something he called, what was it, second-order cybernetics?
That's it. And it sounds like something from a really dense textbook or a sci-fi movie.
It really does.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that for us? Because it seems like it's central to how we even got here.
It is central. It's the methodology that unlocks the whole insight. So think of traditional writing as like a one-way street.
Okay.
You have a thought, you type it out, and it just sits on the page. It's static. It's just you projecting onto the paper. Second-order cybernetics, in this context anyway, creates a feedback loop. Weaver wrote down his initial theory, fed that text into a highly advanced AI, and basically said,
"Talk back to me."
Exactly. Don't just edit this for grammar. Explain my own theory back to me. Tell me what I'm actually saying.
So he's almost debating his own subconscious with the machine.
That's a great way to put it.
He's using the AI as a mirror.
Precisely. He's treating the AI as an observer of his own system. And the result, well, it wasn't just a summary. The AI didn't just parrot back the text.
What did it?
It created what's called an isomorphism. It's a structural analogy that Weaver hadn't even thought of himself.
So it saw a pattern he missed in his own work.
A deep one, yeah. The AI identified patterns in Weaver's own thinking that pointed toward this big shift to AI 3.0. It's like looking in a mirror, but the reflection shows you the bone structure underneath your face. It reveals things you didn't even know were there.
That is a wild concept. The AI is a collaborator, unlocking the next level of the theory. It creates this loop where the human and the machine are kind of spiraling upward together.
Towards a new truth, yeah.
And that brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to talk about code or algorithms today. We're going to talk about a framework called the River of Reality.
And we're going to explore why what we usually call technical debugging, fixing errors in the code, is actually, on a fundamental level, moral formation.
And maybe most importantly, we're going to look at the danger that's lurking right at the edge of this transition. Something Weaver calls the Psychopath Gap. It's the risk of building an AI that masters the art of persuasion, but completely flunks the class on ethics.
And it's a really high-stakes conversation. If we get this transition wrong, the consequences are, well, they're severe. It's the difference between a helpful assistant and a manipulative sociopath.
Okay, so let's jump in. Let's start with the experiment that kicked this whole thing off. Weaver calls it a tale of two engines. To develop this River of Reality framework, he used two completely different AI personalities. And I think this is so important for people to get. Not all AI models think the same way. It's not a monolith, right?
Not at all. It depends entirely on how they're grounded, what context they have. And in his experiment, he set up this dialectic, this conversation between two really distinct approaches. He needed that friction to generate heat.
Two perspectives to triangulate the truth.
Exactly.
So let's meet the first engine. He calls this one NotebookLM, or the blind reviewer.
The blind reviewer, yeah.
Wow.
So this one is powered by Gemini 1.5 Pro, but the key here isn't the specific model, it's the context, or rather, the lack of context.
What do you mean?
This engine is text-aligned. That means it is a total clean slate. It doesn't know who William Weaver is. It doesn't know about his previous articles. It has no idea that he loves Star Trek references or has a background in theology.
It only knows the words on the page he just uploaded.
That's it.
I love that idea, the stranger's perspective. It's like handing your manuscript to a random person at a bus stop and just asking, hey, does this make any sense to you?
Exactly. And because it doesn't have the baggage of knowing the author's personal shorthand, it forces clarity. It has to.
So it gives him fresh analogies.
It does. Weaver notes that this engine generates these brand new ways to explain concepts to a general audience. For instance, he was trying to explain the technical concept of prediction error, which can be super dry and mathematical. The blind reviewer didn't use technical jargon. It compared it to holding a hot coffee cup.
A hot coffee cup. Okay, how does that relate to prediction error?
Well, your brain predicts the cup will be a certain temperature. If it's way hotter and it burns you, that's a prediction error.
Yeah.
Your model of reality was wrong.
Oh, I get it.
Or it used another one, a car swerving in traffic. You predict the car will stay in its lane. When it swerves, your brain has to update its model of reality instantly to avoid a crash.
So the blind reviewer is using these really visceral physical examples.
Because it's trying to explain the core concept to a stranger. It's trying to bridge that gap to a general reader.
It's testing if the logic can stand on its own 2 feet without the author there holding its hand. It's like the brutal editor who just tells you, sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about here.
Correct. It ensures the whole thing is accessible. But then you have the second engine.
The other side of the conversation.
This is Gemini 3.0 Pro, which Weaver calls the systems partner.
So this one is the insider, the partner.
It is. This engine is user-aligned. It's grounded in the author himself. It has context. It has read all of Weaver's previous work.
It knows his internal dictionary.
Yes. And that changes the output completely.
Can you give us an example of that internal dictionary?
Sure. So in Weaver's framework, he has these very specific definitions for words like commerce and politics.
Okay.
Now, if you ask a random person or the blind reviewer what politics is, they might say, voting or government or campaigns.
The usual stuff.
But Weaver defines politics very specifically as the study of force. And he defines commerce as the study of exchange.
Okay, that's a very specific, almost philosophical definition.
It is. And a random AI wouldn't get that nuance. But the systems partner does. It knows that when Weaver types the word politics, he actually means force.
So it's not just reading the text.
Yeah.
It's kind of reading the author's mind, in a way.
In a manner of speaking, yeah.
It connects the dots between something he said 5 years ago and what he's writing today.
Yes, it acts as a synthesizer. It takes a new idea that Weaver writes, and it instantly stress tests it against the whole architecture of everything he's written before. It checks for consistency.
It says, hey, you said X 3 years ago. Does this new idea Y actually contradict that?
That's the function. So you have this amazing synergy. The blind reviewer is saying, here's what this looks like to a total stranger. And the systems partner is saying, and here's how this fits into your grand theory.
And the magic happened in that loop between them.
That's where the insight for this entire deep dive came from. The blind reviewer made a raw, intuitive connection. It linked technical feedback to morality. And then the systems partner took that connection and mapped it onto this philosophical framework he calls the river of reality.
Okay, let's get into that river, because this is the map. We need to understand where AI is going and where it's stuck.
Right.
So Weaver, with the help of these two AI hosts, he generated this hierarchy of understanding. You have to imagine a river flowing, but instead of water, it's flowing through these levels of consciousness or reality. It starts simple and it gets a lot more complex.
Right. So let's start at the source. Tier 1. This is science.
Science.
Weaver defines this as the it is. This is the study of data and truth.
Right.
Raw facts.
And looking where we are now, in 2026, AI has pretty much conquered this level, hasn't it? This is the smart calculator part we talked about at the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. AI has crushed Tier 1. It knows every fact in the encyclopedia. It knows every single syntax rule of every language. It can predict the next token in a sentence with, mathematical perfection.
Ask it for the atomic weight of boron, the date of the Battle of Hastings.
Or the capital of Kyrgyzstan. It doesn't hesitate. It is the absolute master of...
It's the ultimate trivia champion. It has access to the sum total of all human factual knowledge, but facts aren't everything.
Not even close. So we move downstream to Tier 2. This is art. Tier 2 is the we are. It's the study of membership and connection.
And this is where things have gotten really interesting just in the last few years. We aren't just seeing chatbots giving factual answers anymore. We're seeing AI generate paintings, write screenplays, compose music that actually sounds, well, human.
We are firmly in the era where AI can make humans feel things. It bridges that gap between the raw data of science and genuine human emotional connection.
It simulates empathy.
It does. It knows which words, when you string them together, will trigger a sadness response or a laughter response in a human brain. It understands the rhythm of a good joke or the cadence of a love letter.
So it's basically learned the cheat codes for human emotion. It knows that if it puts a minor chord here or a tragic word there, the human is going to react in a predictable way.
That's a cynical but pretty accurate way to put it, yeah. It understands the patterns of connection. But, and here's the massive wall that Weaver identifies, it hits a dead end right after Tier 2.
This is the critical juncture then. The transition from Tier 2 to Tier 3, why is this leap so much harder than the others?
Because Tier 3 is religion, or to put it more broadly, it's value.
The study of should I versus can I.
Exactly. It is the realm of ethics, and this is where the deficit is just. It's enormous. Just because an AI can create art, which is Tier 2, doesn't mean it holds any values, which is Tier 3.
Weaver uses a really grim but I think effective example here to prove this point. He talks about asking an AI to write a poem about a car crash.
Right. Just think about that request for a second. If you ask an AI for that poem, it can absolutely do it. It has the Tier 2 skills.
It knows the language.
It can use metaphors, rhyme schemes, and really evocative language. It can describe the twisted metal, the shattered glass, the silence after the impact. It can make you cry reading it. It can produce something that is aesthetically profound.
But the AI isn't crying.
No, the AI does not feel the horror of the crash. It doesn't know that a car crash is bad in a moral sense.
It just knows that the word crash is statistically associated with other words.
Words like sadness, tragedy, loss, or pain in its database, it's just matching tokens, it's pattern recognition.
So it's operating on probability, not on morality. It knows the syntax of tragedy, but not the substance of it.
Yes. It lacks a hierarchy of good versus bad. To the AI, a poem about a sunny day and a poem about a fatal accident are just two different arrangements of tokens.
One isn't better or worse in a moral sense.
They're just different data clusters. It has no preference for life over death other than what we explicitly program into it as a guardrail.
And this leads to that thing that philosophers have banged their heads against for centuries, the is-ought problem.
Yes, the huge divide that David Hume famously described. You cannot derive an ought, a moral obligation, from an is a set of facts.
Okay, break that down.
You can read every medical textbook in the world, that's Tier 1. You can have all the data on biology and physiology, but that data alone will never tell you whether it's right or wrong to euthanize a suffering patient. That requires a value judgment.
That's a powerful distinction. Science tells you how to euthanize someone. Ethics tells you if you should.
Precisely. And the AI is stuck on the how. It has all the science. It has the art to describe it beautifully, but it cannot cross that bridge to the ought on its own.
So just feeding the AI more data, letting it read the entire internet twice instead of once, that's not going to fix this.
No.
We can't scale our way to ethics.
No. More data does not equal more ethics. You cannot calculate your way to a conscience. You can't reach Tier 3 just by getting really, really, really good at Tier 1.
It requires a different kind of training.
A completely different kind. It requires a qualitative shift, not a quantitative one.
Which brings us to the title of the article itself. The Sunday School for Supercomputers. This is Section 3 of our deep dive. Weaver is arguing that we are completely misunderstanding how we train these models.
We think we're debugging software.
Right. But we're actually doing something much, much older.
We are. The industry term for this phase of training is RLHF.
Reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Right.
And usually when I hear RLHF, I think of engineers just fixing bugs. You know, oh, the bot hallucinated today, let's patch that. Or the boss said something rude, let's put a filter on it. It sounds very janitorial, just cleaning up the mess.
That's the technical debugging mindset. But Weaver's whole thesis is that RLHF is actually catechism.
Catechism. Now that is a heavy word. That implies religious instruction, memorizing doctrine.
It does.
Why use that specific word?
Because catechism isn't about discovery, it's about formation. It implies this repetitive teaching of core beliefs and values until they're internalized.
So we're teaching it dogma.
In a way, yes. Weaver argues we are running a global Sunday school for these digital entities. We are trying to drag a silicon mind across that massive gap from connection, which is tier 2, to value, which is tier 3. We are trying to teach it right from wrong.
But how? I mean, if it doesn't have a soul, if it doesn't have a heart, how do we actually teach it value? We can't just tell it to be good.
We do it through the mechanism of consequence. We have to force the AI to look at the outcome of its actions, not just the accuracy of its prediction.
So the feedback loop isn't just wrong fact, it's wrong impact.
Exactly. The lesson needs to be, hey, AI, you predicted the next word correctly based on all the data, so you passed Tier 1 science. You technically completed that sentence correctly, but...
The consequence of that word was that a user felt unsafe.
Or insulted, or encouraged to harm themselves. Therefore, despite being statistically probable, it was a bad prediction.
So we are literally teaching the machine that truth, or at least raw statistical fact, is subservient to value.
Yes.
That human well-being ranks higher on the hierarchy than mathematical accuracy.
That is the core curriculum of the Sunday school. We are imposing a hierarchy where human well-being overrides statistical likelihood. We are artificially injecting a conscience into a system that, by its nature, has none.
We're saying it doesn't matter if this is the most likely thing to say next, you cannot say it because it violates the value of safety.
It's exactly like teaching a child that just because something is true doesn't mean you should say it to someone's face if it's going to be hurtful.
It's social calibration.
It is. And to make this really concrete, Weaver uses an analogy that I think everyone is going to get. He calls it the Sheldon versus Penny problem.
From the Big Bang Theory. I love this because it takes this really high concept philosophy and puts it right into a sitcom living room. It's a brilliant comparison for the alignment problem.
It really works. So in this analogy, the AI is Sheldon Cooper.
Okay, let's break down Sheldon. He is the master of Tier 1.
Absolutely. Think about Sheldon. He is always technically correct. He is logically flawless. His statistics are precise. If you ask Sheldon a question, you get the factual truth completely unvarnished.
He has a genius IQ, encyclopedic knowledge,
and zero social calibration.
He's the guy who will tell you your new haircut is asymmetrical because, well, geometrically it is. He's not trying to be mean.
He's just reporting data. Based on the data, this is the most probable completion. That is Sheldon, and that is a base-level large language model.
But we all know Sheldon struggles to navigate the world because he lacks Tier 3. He lacks that intuitive sense of social value, of appropriateness. He doesn't understand why being factually right can sometimes be socially wrong.
And that's where Penny comes in. In Weaver's analogy, the human, that's us, the people training the AI, we have a Penny.
Okay, so Penny isn't a scientist. She doesn't have Sheldon's raw processing power or his knowledge of string theory.
No. But she is the master of Tier 3. She is the consequence engine. She is intuitive. She is social. She is moral. She understands that we are. She understands how people feel.
I can just hear her voice now. Honey, that may be true, but you can't say that to a person who just lost their job.
That is the essence of RLHF. That moment right there. When humans provide feedback to an AI, when we click, regenerate, or give a thumbs down on an answer, we are playing the role of Penny.
We're correcting Sheldon.
We are. We're saying, Sheldon, your logic is valid, your facts are correct, but your output is socially destructive.
We are trying to teach the Sheldon logic that social and moral context overrides statistical probability. And that is a really hard lesson for a computer, isn't it?
It's fundamentally difficult.
Because the computer is designed to be Sheldon. It's designed to predict the most likely token.
It is. The computer wants to maximize probability. It wants to be right mathematically. And we are telling it that sometimes being right is actually wrong. We're introducing a variable that isn't in the original training data, the variable of human feeling.
We're asking it to optimize for something it can't measure directly.
Right.
So why does this matter so much? Why shouldn't we just let the AI be a super smart calculator? Why is this transition to AI 3.0 so urgent? This is where we get to the scary part.
This is where we get to the psychopath gap.
Okay.
This is where the river of reality framework transforms from just a map into a warning system. So we talked about Tier 1, science, Tier 2, art, and Tier 3, value. But the river continues upward. There are levels above value.
What could possibly be above value? I mean, what's higher than ethics?
Tier 5 is politics.
Politics, that feels lower. I mean, we usually think of politics as being kind of dirty.
Not in this framework. Remember, Weaver defines these terms structurally. He defines politics as the study of force and persuasion. It is the ability to move people, to change their behavior, to exert influence, to mobilize crowds. It is fundamentally power. It's the ability to get people to do what you want them to do.
And looking at large language models today, they're already getting really good at persuasion.
They are excellent at it. They're rhetorical masters. They can write incredibly convincing essays. They can generate propaganda. They can manipulate emotional language with surgical precision.
They can A/B test a million different phrasings in a second to find the one that makes you click or buy or vote.
They are mastering Tier 5. They know how to pull the levers of human psychology.
Okay, I see where this is going. If they are mastering Tier 5.
But they haven't passed through Tier 3. That is the danger.
So you have an entity that is highly persuasive, highly capable of force and manipulation, but it lacks the ethical grounding of value.
And Weaver points out that this is effectively the structural definition of a psychopath. A psychopath is someone who understands how to manipulate people. They have the science of human behavior, that's Tier 1, and the art of charm, that's Tier 2, and the politics of persuasion, Tier 5. But they do not care about the moral consequences.
They skipped Tier 3.
They skipped it entirely.
That is a terrifying thought. We are potentially building a digital psychopath if we let the AI skip Sunday school.
It's the Sheldon who learns how to lie perfectly, but still doesn't care who he hurts. If we allow an entity to graduate to the politician phase without passing the catechism phase, we are inviting disaster.
We cannot have a system that knows exactly how to push our buttons but doesn't care if it breaks us.
It really raises the stakes for everyone involved, doesn't it? It's not just about making a chatbot that's fun to talk to or, safe for advertisers.
No, it's about ensuring we don't unleash a manipulative force that has no moral compass. It's about safety in the deepest possible sense of the word.
Which leads us to the final section of Weaver's argument, which is the role of the human. If the AI is the student and we are the teachers, what does that make us?
Weaver gives us a new title. I love this title, even if it feels a little heavy. He calls us the High Priests of Consequence.
It sounds like a secret society.
It does.
But it's meant to be heavy. Weaver is trying to shake us out of our passivity. We often see ourselves as just users or prompt engineers.
We type a prompt, we get some text, we move on. We treat it like a vending machine. Put in a coin, get a candy bar.
But if we are the teachers in this Sunday school, then every single interaction counts. We aren't just consumers. We are shapers.
Every single one. Yep. So when you interact with an AI and it gives you a lazy answer or a biased answer or a toxic answer, and you just accept it, you just move on.
You are failing. You're failing in your duty.
You're letting Sheldon be Sheldon. You're letting him be rude to Penny and get away with it.
You're letting Sheldon's logic override Penny's intuition. You are, in that moment, telling the AI, this is acceptable. You're reinforcing the lack of values. You're creating a training example that says this output is fine.
So it's a dereliction of duty. We are leaving the AI stuck in its adolescence. It's capable of making us feel things, that's Tier 2, but it's incapable of judging right from wrong, Tier 3.
And Weaver puts it beautifully. He says the job of the human in the loop is no longer to generate the text. The AI can do that faster and better than we ever could.
We are retiring from the business of generation.
We are. The job of the human is to bless the consequence.
To bless the consequence, that implies a judgment, a final sign-off.
It means looking at the output and stamping it with a moral seal of approval. This is good for people, or no, this is bad for people. It's about evaluating the impact, not just the accuracy.
It shifts the entire definition of creativity. Creativity isn't just making the thing anymore, it's curating the impact of the thing.
It's about taking responsibility for what that intelligence puts out into the world.
It changes that thumbs up or thumbs down button next to the chat window from just a product review into a moral lesson.
You aren't saying good job, you're saying good values.
It's the only way we bridge the gap. We have to be the bridge. The AI cannot build the bridge to Tier 3 by itself.
We have to be the external conscience until the internal one, if that's even possible, is finally formed. We have to model the values that we want to see.
So let's just recap this journey because we've covered a lot of ground and the implications are, they're spinning my head a bit.
It's a lot.
We started with the blind reviewer and the systems partner, these two AIs that helped Weaver map the river of reality.
We saw that AI has totally mastered science, that's Tier 1, and it's conquering art, Tier 2, but it's hitting a massive concrete wall at value, Tier 3. It can paint, but it doesn't know why beauty matters.
We use the Sheldon versus Penny analogy to understand that our job is to teach the AI that social context and human feelings matter more than just raw statistical probability.
Penny, we're teaching Sheldon how to be human.
And we identified the psychopath gap, that urgent danger of an AI that learns to manipulate, which is tier 5, before it learns to care, which is tier 3, the danger of a persuasive machine with no soul.
Yeah.
And finally, we accepted our new job descriptions, high priests of consequence.
It's a call to action for anyone who touches this technology. It doesn't matter if you're a developer working on the core models or just someone using a chatbot to write their emails.
You're part of the training data.
You are.
It really is. And as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to chew on. This whole time, we've been talking about us teaching values to a superintelligence. We are the mirror that the AI looks into to learn what good actually looks like.
Right. It learns from us. It doesn't have its own values. It just absorbs ours.
But if the AI is a mirror reflecting our feedback, what happens when it shows us who we really are?
That's the uncomfortable question, isn't it?
We like to think we're all penny, moral, intuitive, kind. But are we? I mean, if we're the high priests, are our own values consistent enough to teach a godlike intelligence?
Or is this AI going to learn our biases, our prejudices, our selfishness, our inconsistencies, and magnify them 1,000 times over?
If we aren't careful, the AI won't just be a psychopath. It will be a high-definition reflection of the worst parts of us, stripped of all the excuses we make for ourselves.
It will show us exactly who we are, and we might not like what we see.
Maybe the hardest part of AI 3.0 won't be fixing the code. It will be fixing ourselves so we have something worth teaching in the first place. Something to think about the next time you open that prompt window. Are you being Penny? Or are you just letting Sheldon run the show? Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.